What's up, everybody? My name is Amy, and this is the Ruby Pearl Glamper True Crime Podcast. Put your way that you're sitting on top of the world. Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing this evening? Welcome to the Ruby Pearl Glamper True Crime Podcast. My name is Amy. Welcome to my show. It's all the way live. 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 Rest in peace to one of the greatest hip hop icons, Coolio. How sad does that make me? I am heartbroken. I have always liked Coolio. That song, All the Way Live, is the theme song to the movie Eddie. And if you're not familiar with the movie Eddie, it stars Whoopi Goldberg, and she is a big New York Knicks fan. And there's a free throw contest, and she ends up winning and gets to be honorary coach of the New York Knicks. And then she ends up becoming the head coach of the New York Knicks. And it's just a really hilarious movie. It's got Dennis Rodman in it. It's got John Sally, John Sally and Dennis Rodman are two of my favorite NBA players. It's such a cute and funny movie, but you know, the one song that I have always resonated with by Coolio is Gangsta's Paradise. And when you read the lyrics of that song, you can tell he is, you know, talking about gang life is the only way of life pretty much in the hood. But I've always felt that there was a bigger and deeper meaning to the song Gangsta's Paradise. And I've always looked at that song in the grand scheme of things. I've always looked at it on an upper level. Like, he's not just talking about, you know, the streets and gangs and living in the hood and stuff, you know, as a black man. I've always felt like he was truly talking about all of us living in a gangster's paradise, because I have always felt that way. And The real gangsters are the people that run this country. And, you know, in the end, who do we end up hurting when we argue and fight amongst each other? Why are we so blind to see that the ones we hurt are you and me? Sit a spell on that for a little while and think about it. Well, tonight was an interesting Law and Order. 3 hours of Law and Order, Law and Order, Law and Order SVU, and Law and Order Organized Crime. I thought that they were going to do another crossover, but they didn't. But the regular Law and Order did a really interesting segment on that centered around Roe v. Wade. And you know how they always, they like to do things that are going on in the news right now and rip from the headlines and stuff like that. And I just thought it was a really interesting show, crossing state lines with someone who was underage because of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. And so yeah, it was a good show. It was a really good show. And but I have had a lot on my mind these past couple of days regarding Kiely, Rodni, and Summer Wells. But before I get to talking about Kiely, Rodni, and Summer Wells, I want to send a shout out to Bullhorn Betty, Jonathan Lee Riches Investigates, who has been out there tirelessly chasing this storm all over Florida and reporting on it. If you haven't seen any of JLR's videos, make sure you go over to his channel and watch his videos of storm chasing. He posted one video of Fort Myers, and just devastating, just horrible devastation. Chronicles of Olivia, she had to evacuate where she lives, and so hope her and her mom are doing well. White Boy Lockdown Radio has also been hit. Now, whether you like these creators or not, an act of God, an act of Mother Nature is no joke. It's not funny. And it's not something that you should ever wish upon someone, you don't like. I've been through tornadoes. I've been through 2 floods. It's not funny. And, it's not something that you can control. And Hurricane Ian has really caused a lot of damage and destruction in Florida. Bullhorn Betty, Andra, her roof has been damaged. She's been without power all day. Haven't heard from Olivia. And then, like I said, Jonathan is out storm chasing and White Boy Lockdown has been doing a little bit of, reporting and whatnot, but and they say it is going to hit landfall again. And I'm not really understanding what that means, but however, what is apparently happening is it is moving up the coast, up the East Coast. And it looks as though my daughter, Shaughnessy, and son in law, Harley, in Virginia Beach, are going to get hit. And, that makes me extremely scared, very scared, you know. Um, Also, Dolly Vision is up there. So, of course, you know him. He's live or die. He ain't going to lose power to his studio. He'll be standing outside going live. But, just keep all these people in your mind, in your hearts, and, and go leave a comment on their channel, send them some love and prayers and thoughts, because, devastation by Mother Nature is nothing funny. It's nothing to that you want to go through or to have happen to you. Like I said, I've been through tornadoes and I've been through 2 floods, and it's not fun. So, everyone, if you're just tuning in and this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button on your way in, and stick around and help me build my channel. Share my videos, tell your friends, and I like to try and build my channel and get into that algorithm thing they talk so much about. Well, now getting around to talking about the things that have been on my mind for the last couple of days regarding Kiely, Rodni, and Summer Wells. I'm going to talk about Kiely first. There's some things that are going on around the internet, and there's an alleged death certificate, and there's claims of video footage from a news station that shows every bit of the removal of Kiely's car from Lake Prosser, and allegedly removing her from the car, and details that I don't want to repeat. I have not seen the video, do not want to see the video, but they're putting out there that they were seeing 2 gurneys, and that 2 gurneys means 2 bodies, and there's allegedly some guy missing from around there, and wondering if it's him, and just feeding these stories of that we know nothing about, whether or not they're factual or not. Hey, Nanav7, how are you? So, there's some of this stuff that I'm just not going to entertain. about the Kiely Rodni case. I'm not calling these people liars. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just not going to entertain any of the nonsense that's going around that can't, somehow be proven as some kind of factual evidence. I've heard all about this alleged death certificate, but haven't heard what the alleged cause of death was, ironically. So until, I see a professional document and it is released by either her family or the police or FBI or the coroner's office there, I'm not going to entertain any of it. You're having internet issues, Nana? I've been having some too. I've also been having some antenna issues for some reason. Yeah, I'm old school. I have an antenna on my television. So, so I'm just not going to entertain any of the nonsense. I have tried my best with what I've talked about on my channel and what I have discussed with Betty on the Bullhorn Betty show, to stay somewhat factual and, build theories around those facts. And I came up with a theory of how all this possibly went down. Not, naming any names or any suspects, but just a theory of how it may have all, went down that night. And you can include Nick, the tow truck driver, or you can disclude him. Either way, she ended up in Prosser Lake Reservoir, and she did not put herself in Prosser Lake Reservoir, not even by accident. And a lot of people around YouTube are in fear of there being a small town cover up, and that they're going to try to come out and say this was just a horrible, terrible accident. Now, that conspiracy theory I will go along with, as far as a small town cover up. That one wouldn't shock me a bit. But I just don't see how in the world they could ever come up with some kind of a plausible explanation of how this was an accident. Now, granted, when the autopsy results come out and we know whether or not she was deceased or alive when she went into the water, that's going to, answer a big question. There is debate on whether or not she could have floated from the front to the back. You're going to have to scientifically prove that one to me. That's all I'm saying. Maybe if she were laying down in the back seat, I might buy it that she floated over back into the hatchback. But going to also need to know and verify whether or not she was actually strapped to a seatbelt in that hatchback. Because there's a lot of speculation around that, but we just don't know for positive sure whether she was or not. So, but I have laid here for 2 days with a headache, mind you, and I have tried to come up with some kind of a plausible explanation of how in the world she could have possibly gone into that lake by pure accident on her own with no help from no one. Now, do I believe that she did? No. However, I have literally tried to come up with some type of a plausible explanation. And there just isn't one. You know, I base a lot of thoughts and theories and scenarios and whatnot on human behavior. Things that we just naturally do, the way we think, the way we act, the way we respond to stuff. And I laid here and tried to visualize myself on that beach in that car and figure out some type of a plausible explanation of how she could have accidentally went into the water. And I just can't come up with one. And I'm going to tell you why. The smallest detail can be the biggest tell-all. Now, Kiely's car was an automatic, as far as I know. And so now you hear the story from Nick, the tow truck driver, who claims he saw her or a lookalike and a boy and her car at the other spot, the one I was having so much trouble with. And he says, well, you can't start the car in neutral. So that right there tells me that it's not a standard. Every standard vehicle I've ever owned, I started in neutral. So that automatically tells me that it was an automatic. AWP states that her car was in neutral. Now, I don't care what kind of car you drive. If you drive a car that is an automatic, whether your gear shifter's on the handle, I mean like old school, or whether it is in the floorboard, you have to apply the brake. And if you are, let's start with a vehicle that has the gear shifter on the steering column. You have to put your foot on the brake, pull that pull that gear shifter forward just a little bit to put it down into reverse. Am I right or am I wrong? I believe I'm right. Then you back up, then you pull it on down through neutral into drive, take off going. Okay. Same thing if it's in the floorboard. You have to apply the brake. You have to push some kind of a button, whether it's on the side of your handle, whether it's on the top of your handle. My car is awkward, and it literally takes me two hands to get my gear shifter into reverse, neutral, and drive. But any automatic vehicle that you drive with the gear shifter in the floorboard, you've got to push a button and apply your foot on the brake in order to get it into reverse, neutral, and to drive. So, in order for Kiely to have gotten into that water on her own with no help, she would have had to do that very thing. Now, let's take into consideration that she had been drinking, and possibly even had drugs in her system. Okay, now imagine that the front of the car is facing the lake. Let's say that she decided to she was too drunk to drive, and she was just going to spend the night and sleep it off or whatever in her vehicle. But you know what? I think I'm going to pull my vehicle out here onto the beach in front of the water. It's, beautiful setting instead of, passing out over there in the sanctuary parking lot. Now, this is just all hypothetical. If she had started rolling down the embankment or accidentally knocked her gear shifter from drive into neutral or whatever, she would have started applying her brakes to stop herself from rolling. Same thing if she had been turned around backwards and the rear of her car was facing the lake. She would have done something to try and stop herself. Let's also have the scenario of if she had pulled up out there and was gonna sleep off her drunk or whatever, she would not have that vehicle in drive. She wouldn't have it in neutral. She would have it in park. And like I said, you've got to make a series of maneuvers to get that car into neutral. It don't just slip. It don't just automatically go into neutral. So if she'd pulled up out there and, was just sitting there and let's say she was looking out at the water for a few minutes or whatever and then decided to leave and puts her car into what she thinks is reverse, but she's gone one too many and put it into neutral, and she pushes on the gas. She's going to start rolling forward or backward, depending on which way her car's facing. And she's going to put her foot on the brake. It's just automatic. She wouldn't have, let's say, left her car running in drive or in neutral and crawled in the hatchback and went to sleep or the back seat or even kicked the front seat back and took a little cat nap or whatever. I just cannot come up with any plausible reason, any plausible way how she could have accidentally put herself in that lake. No matter which way you swing it, no matter which scenario you try to come up with, she just didn't put herself in that lake. I firmly believe that it was done exactly the same way Oh, okay, Nana of 7, I understand. Um, I believe wholeheartedly that her vehicle went into Prosser Lake Reservoir the exact same way Susan Smith's car rolled down the boat ramp at John D. Lake with her 2 babies strapped in their car seats in the back seat. And it hit the water and floated a little bit and submerged and flipped over exactly the same way. It's going to be hard to change my mind on that. But there's just no way that Kiely, did that on her own. I just don't buy it. So someone had to put her vehicle in that lake. And the question is why? Why did they want to cover up her death? What else were they trying to cover up? Were they trying to cover up a physical assault or a sexual assault? We keep hearing about this Fight Club stuff. I don't know what to think about it. I don't know how much of it is really relevant, as far as to Kiely's case, to Kiely's death. But I just, someone put her there. And the question is why. The question is why. So I don't, I've lived through small town cover ups, you know, lived through one of the biggest cover ups in American history. A cover up that started with local drug dealers and went all the way up to the White House and the CIA and the cartel and all kinds of crazy shit. But, you know, I just don't think that they're going to get away with it without being put under so much scrutiny. And because the police department, I thought they were actually doing a really good job in the beginning. I really did. And then everything just fell apart. And we found out that, the police haven't been, I don't know if you would call it fully honest or just uneducated or sloppy or what, but you say you searched a lake, but you only allowed the search to go so far out into the water off the embankment, and that just don't make any sense to me. That sounds like uneducated, but yet they supposedly had all these professional people, involved in this search long before AWP came along. So, but they tell them to only search 25 feet out. I mean, that sounds like either you that sounds to me like you think the car couldn't have gone any farther out into the lake past 25 feet or so. So that sounds like a little bit of uneducation to me. But depending on how far back onto the embankment the vehicle was when it went into the lake, at what angle and what degree of an angle that embankment down into the water is, um, you know, even in neutral, a car gains speed when it's rolling down a hill in neutral. So, I mean, I don't, know the mathematics of it, but, what is that? I don't know the, mathematics of it, but, either way, I mean, to put dimensions on how far she could have gone out, I mean, that just, but then it's come out that, did they even search it at all? Did they even search Prosser Lake at all? I'm hearing they only searched 25 feet out. I'm hearing that they may not have even searched Prosser at all. So, only they can verify that. And only they can verify, what they did. Then you have AWP come in. They find it in 5 minutes, literally. And they make them leave. They take take charge of removing the vehicle themselves. They don't secure it or anything. The windows are down, windows are busted out. They've got to flip this car back over onto its wheels so they can pull it out by the rear end. And so all the contents of her car come floating out the windows. And it's kind of ironic because if she possibly floated back there, then why, when they flipped the car, didn't she, float around in the car or whatever? I don't like to get into graphic details. I really don't. But it's kind of, seems she stayed contained, was found in the back end of the car and stayed contained in the back of the car. Right, Nana of a 7. I'm glad someone else, can see this and knows enough about cars and whatnot, to it's the simplest things. And so then some dude goes out there and finds half the contents of her car in the lake. The police didn't even, search to see if what else was down there, call in any divers of their own, agree to work with AWP. Hey, let's sign some sort of a confidentiality agreement or nothing, and it just then they leave this stuff out there, and this kook comes out of nowhere and goes and finds all this stuff. And, there's some controversy surrounding him. There's some controversy surrounding the PI that inserted himself into the case. There's some controversy involving a girl named Zanime. And, and that, do these people all know each other? And why they come out of nowhere, inserted themselves in this case, and gone out there onto the scene of the crime and just, inserted themselves into this investigation. He supposedly gave it to the grandpa, bum. Yeah, I don't know what to think about all these. That there's something not right with these three people. But you know, I just don't. It's just going to be very interesting to see what how this comes out. How Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That there is and that that is another conspiracy theory that I will buy into. Is something is weird about Click It TV, or there's now apparently CCTV. Zanime, the PI guy, and them just jumping in and inserting themselves into a case for people they allegedly don't know. Now, granted, yes, some of us YouTubers do that and go to, the scenes and whatnot, and talk with people and whatnot, but these people are not suspects in in no way suspicious or have any kind of ulterior motive because they're trying to hide something. I have compared Sammy to Jodi Arias, and yeah, that's what I'm saying. They somehow all these people know each other, and they've all come out of the clear blue. They're all YouTube stars now, and it's just very bizarre, very very bizarre, and now there's some more uh, conspiracy being brought into it, and which I'm not going to entertain because I want the facts. I want the facts, and I don't want to stomp on anybody's religion or anybody's way of life or anything like that because I live an unconventional life. So, but a small town cover up, yes, I will buy. And it won't shock me if they do try to say that this was an accident. However, we are living in a day and age where when in 1989 and they tried to, make Janie Ward's case and say it was an accident, you're not going to get by with that shit today. Not as many eyes and people that are have invested themselves into this case and to researching this case and trying to get to the bottom of it. No, there'll be a huge protest. Betty will be out there with her bullhorn, and I'll be standing behind her with my pom poms. Y'all can call me Pom Pom Pearl, and the war will be on. The protest will be on because this girl did not die by accident. Mm. So, we'll see how all this comes out. I don't know. But speaking of small town cover up, I wanted to talk about Summer. You know, little Summer is on my mind all the time. And whether anyone wants to admit it or not, this case is cold. The Summer Wells case has gone cold. And I want to know why. I just don't feel that this case should be cold. Yes, Don is a piece of work, shit, trash, scum between my toes, bird shit on my windshield. And he's fixing to get out of jail. Oh, I believe so too. I do believe that she is there somewhere close. I've always believed that, the bum. I believe that she's there somewhere close where Don and Candace both know where she is, and that way that if anyone got close to finding her or finding her remains or whatever, you know, they would know it. Got out this past Monday. Are you serious? Well, that was awfully quiet because he wasn't supposed to get out until the 30th of next month. Um, that's been reported on. That was his TE date. Now, let's see, today is Thursday. Candace went to court this week with Don B, creator Don B. Apparently, she must have filed some kind of restraining order or something on him. I don't know what it's all about. I don't want to speak on it because I don't know the facts. But that I do know was that she went to court against Don B this week. So, I don't know. But if they let Don Wells out, then they sure did it quietly and a month early. Um, have to look into the validity of that and see, because there's going to be some folks disappointed that they missed it because there's been a planned protest. But with Don getting out, oh, excuse me, I got to move around a minute. I have terrible sciatica. With Don getting out, there's, to my understanding, Candace is not even staying on the property anymore. And read his release date, which was supposed to be October the 30th. Well, he can't sell the house and not the property. Who'd want to buy that house anyway? You'd want to bulldoze it down. She ain't gonna get them boys back, and if she does, that'll be another protest. That will be another protest because her and Don have not been cleared of being involved in Summer's disappearance. And for CPS, which I know they're not the brightest crayons in the box, and they've turned these kids back over to these shitty parents, and then they end up dead like Harmony Montgomery and Jordan Beliveau. But surely to God, I mean, she and Don have not been cleared, and that would be every reason why I would not give those boys back to her. You know, it's nothing personal. It's just you know, the way it is for the I'm looking out for the safety of those kids. But I have heard this about, you know, him getting out and selling the property and or the house or whatever and all. Where are they going to go? What are they going to do? They're going to sell the property and leave the town their daughter is missing from. I mean, that looks suspicious, don't you think? You know, granted, you know, and then for them to, let's say, get the boys back and go and leave, you know, leave the state and move somewhere else, and you know, where they've left their missing, claimed, kidnapped child behind. You know, it just don't look good. And you know, if they go somewhere else, they're going to have to live with someone. They're going to have to pay rent. They're going to have to, you know, buy a mobile home or buy some land, or either way, they don't have house payments. That house is paid for. The only thing they have is their, you know, electrical bills, their phone bills, car payments, or whatever they have. And, you know, they don't have a house payment. Now, I don't know if the property taxes are paid on it or not. That's none of my business. But that is something you can look into, though. But irregardless, you know, and who's to say that property is going to sell right off the bat, even if they do sell it? You know, it just looks too conspicuous. But, you know, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. You know, my thoughts are about Summer, and my concern is about Summer, and I just do not understand why TBI and of course I wrote Hawkins County off a long time ago. Ain't nothing but a bunch of good old boy lazy ass smart asses. That Scott Pruitt and Ronnie Lawson both. Couple of fucking smart asses is all they are. And you know, but TBI, you know, I just don't know what to think about TBI. I really don't. But there's so much, that just is not right about Summer's. Thank you. There's just things that are just not right about Summer's disappearance, and the people that have inserted themselves into that case. Yeah, my kids ain't gonna get a dime out of killing me. But you know, Tim Mullins, I don't care which day of the week you look at it, which time of the day, there is something not right with that dude. There is something not right about him. And I don't know what it's going to take for somebody with the authority to do an investigation into him. You don't know who Tim Mullins is? Tim Mullins is the media manager for the Wells family. He's the one who has the website. He's the one that runs the Wells family YouTube channel, the Fine Summer, and Facebook page, and all that. Yeah, he's a very weird and shady media manager, like a PR guy who doesn't want anyone to know he's a PR guy. And yeah, you wonder if he's filtering clues. Yeah, I think so. And I also think that there is a very good possibility that he had something to do with Summer's disappearance. Some kind of involvement in whatever became of her. I don't know. This man is just, there is a lot of things about him and information about him and whatnot that, that old song, things that make you go, hmm. And yes, exactly. They're broke. Now, he claimed to Jonathan Lee Riches. Jonathan's got a video out, and I was going to link it in the description box below. I may I may do that after this live, and so that you can watch the video yourself. But Jonathan Lee Riches Investigates did a video about Tim Mullins about a month ago. He put a video out on his new channel, and he, with all the correspondence that he had with Tim Mullins, and trying to speak with Tim Mullins and meet with Tim Mullins, and different things, and the guy is just weird as fuck, and it just makes you wonder, okay, who is this old man, 70 years old, that lives with his parents, who I'm shocked are still alive, and becoming a silent media manager for some people who have a missing kid? But this is not the first case that Tim Mullins has been involved with. He also was involved in the Cash Gernon case. I don't know to what extent I have tried to find out that information from talking to some other people. I haven't quite got to the bottom of that. He also tried reaching out to Brandy Neal, who is the mother of Michael Monkey Vaughn. And yeah, it's odd. And she denied. She turned his offer down. But I have very good reasoning to believe that Tim Mullins is somehow involved with the dark web and child child things on the dark web. Yeah, I think so too. And I just there's just some really, really shady things about Tim Mullins. And I just think that it's worth an investigation into him. I have an ex-boyfriend who is a criminal investigator, been a criminal investigator for a long time in another state. And he's done that kind of work, stripping hard drives and stuff like that. But couldn't get the fucking sound to work on the video at our high school reunion. She said, Amy, I can strip a hard drive, but don't ask me how to figure out how to work the sound on this thing. Yeah, very, very suspicious. So, at this point, I've entertained some different theories on what happened to Summer, but at this point, I'm willing to entertain just about anything except for aliens kidnapping her because, they're just a lot of weird things. People talk about how Candace and Dawn are not the brightest crayons in the box and how, they are just not smart enough to pull off this big, elaborate hocus pocus, disappearance of their daughter. Um, I don't know. Stranger things have happened. There's an old saying, the truth is stranger than fiction. So, but I've entertained the idea that she died, accidentally from heat stroke, from being in that car, maybe being left in the car asleep, to dry drowning. Um, maybe an accident happened with one of the kids. Um, then, that they tried to cover up. One of the kids might have pushed her down and she hit her head and, died. And, I mean, I can understand trying to cover up something like that. So I've entertained that idea. I've entertained, that Dawn owed a drug debt. And yes, within every lie lays a sliver of the truth. You're exactly right. And then I have entertain the idea of them possibly selling her or shipping her off to some kind of a home or you know, I don't know really how to put it, but just some type of a safe place. Um, I just don't know. But what I do know is that Candace and Don, you cannot tell me that they do not have any clue where their daughter is or what happened to their daughter. You'll never make me believe that they are completely clueless about what happened to her, or at least have some idea of who possibly kidnapped her. But I just don't feel that they have been interrogated hard enough about things or confronted about their lies. Um, that's a possibility. You know, I just don't think that they have been properly interrogated about their lies, about their behavior, about anything. And because like I said, here we are over a year later, and we don't know anything more than we did the day she went missing. It's just we have no body, we have no DNA, we have no suspects, we have no nothing but them and a few weird neighbors and a county full of pedos. So, it's just Don's been in Ronnie Lawson's jail all this time. Hadn't even spoken with him. And he claims that they have a lawyer. He claims that the family was no longer cooperating and that they have attorneys. And this is another thing that I have a lot of questions about. Okay, when Candace had supporters, Candace and Don did have supporters. When BK was in their corner. But after Don went to jail and BK turned on Candace, everyone else turned on Candace too. It seemed like he was the only one that was keeping her any supporters. And just as his minions do, whatever his word is the gospel to them. So, yeah, it starts to not make sense and the lies start. Exactly. What ain't made sense to me from day one. Her story about the whole abduction didn't make any sense to me. And it still don't make any sense to me. But so you got to think that, Candace is not on YouTube anymore. She's not got anyone in her corner anymore. She don't have Ernie. She don't have BK. She don't have anybody in her corner. So therefore, she's not getting no more cash apps or any of that PayPal's or any of that kind of stuff. Now, I've never had my kids taken away by CPS, so I don't know how all that stuff works. But I would think that they never filed any charges against Candace and Don. Let's remember that. They never filed any charges against Candace and Don for any neglect or anything like that. They just took the boys away. And so like I said, I don't know how it works with how things work with CPS. If you get a a, um, a court appointed lawyer, um, or I do know that there are things that you have to do to get your kids back. If you got a drinking problem or a drug problem, you got to go through drug and alcohol rehab. You have to clean your house up. You have to make repairs to your house that fit to, city and county and state codes. You have to provide health care or get the kids in some kind of health care. You got to put them in school. Um, you know, Seriously, Smoke, you just dumped all my shit out all over the bed. What are you doing? Oh, my dog. He's always making a mess. Oh, they're still building a case. Well, my God, how long does it take to build a neglect case? It's pretty obvious those kids were neglected. They were living in filthy conditions, and, you know, I've never judged that part of them because I've had friends whose houses looked worse than theirs. Um, I don't judge people by the cleanliness of their house or for being a hoarder or being a. My friend Diana was the shittiest housekeeper I know, and many times the only reason why her house got cleaned is because I cleaned it. And so I've just never been really too judgmental about that. But to to some extent, yes. She could have very easily gotten those kids taken away from her. And that is a condition I see it all the time. People getting kids taken away from because of the, you know, poor conditions of their home, and because the parents are drug and alcohol abusers and whatnot. Yeah, I'm the same way as you are. Um, and even if a kid isn't clean all the time, kids go outside and they play in the dirt and the mud and all that good stuff, but eventually they get a bath and clean clothes. But so back to what I was saying about the attorney. Okay. So I'm going to just assume that she has some sort of a court-appointed attorney in her CPS case. But her CPS case has absolutely nothing to do with the disappearance of Summer. So, how could her? I find it hard to believe that her court appointed CPS attorney would also represent her in telling her not to cooperate with the police in the investigation of her missing daughter. That makes about as much sense as putting a chandelier in a shit house. It just does not make any sense whatsoever. Same thing with Don. He got a DWI, and he ends up doing this time or whatever over all that or whatever. He had a court appointed attorney for that. That is totally separate from the disappearance of his daughter, Summer Moon Utah Wells. Yeah. So I can't imagine that this court appointed attorney who represented him in pleading guilty to a DWI would also be representing him and telling him not to cooperate with the police in the investigation into the disappearance of his daughter. Makes no sense. So who is this lawyer, Ronnie Lawson? Who is the lawyer that is representing Don and Candace Wells in the disappearance of their daughter, Summer Moon Utah Wells? You tell me. Or somebody tell me. And who is paying this lawyer? Because he's been on retainer for quite a while now. Who's paying this lawyer? This alleged lawyer? Tim Mullins, who claims he's not getting paid either, who's just doing this out of the goodness of his own heart, told JLR that he was doing this out of the goodness of his own heart, as in a help your neighbor kind of thing. Well, yeah, I do that kind of stuff all the time. Done it for years. Well, Cash Gernon wasn't your neighbor. The Gernon family wasn't your neighbor. They live in Texas with your old pal, blood money, Benny Keys. That's another weird little relationship I don't get. An old man and a gangsta wannabe white boy, 50, 100 years apart, from two different states, how they hook up together and start being the mouthpieces for these families with these dead and missing children. I don't get it. And it is very suspicious. And if anyone would like to tell me how them two got together, I would sure love to hear it. And if there's a reasonable explanation for all of it, then so be it. But it all just seems a little strange to me. Then BK turned on him. Turned on Tim, turned on Candace, turned on Don. All over a cell phone. Which I've yet to understand that whole thing. Still don't understand it. Of course, who can understand anything about him? But I'm just saying, I'm just pointing these things out. And I'm not the only person that sees any of this stuff, but yet nothing is done. All is quiet in Hawkins County in the Summer Wells case. And it just breaks my heart. Especially the dream that I had a couple of weeks ago that I talked about in another live episode of how I dreamt that I found Summer alive. And she was so happy that I found her and that she was going to get to come home with me and she was going to get to have a real mom. The smile and grin on her face and the happiness as I stood there holding her on my hip and how excited she was that I had found her and she was going to come home with me. Just breaks my heart because this child deserves better. She deserves the better then and she deserves better now. Her name has been dragged through the mud. Her disappearance has been used to make money and scam money from people. Her parents are fucking idiots. They have just acted like complete fools. And all the drama that has been attached to amongst all these creators that have fought with each other and threatened each other and called the cops on each other and called CPS on each other and just all kinds of crazy nonsensical drama. All this has been attached to a little 5-6-year-old girl's name, her memory, her legacy, her little short life. And it just kills me. I mean, it just breaks my heart. And I just don't see any reason why this case has not made some kind of headway, that some kind of an arrest or new information or something has not come about from all this. Grandis has took her camper and she has moved on with her life. I guess she's out in Wisconsin somewhere. I have no clue where Candace is. Nobody seems to know where she is. Staying with friends or um, whatever. Don's in jail, fixing to get out of jail, and he's going to have to start life over pretty much. Are him and Candace going to be together? Are they going to work together to try and see if they can get their boys back, or make a real effort to find Summer or something? But it just, in my eyes, this case is cold and it shouldn't be cold. And, I just, I have to wonder about the competency, which, I mean, I don't see any competency in Hawkins County, but, you know, the FBI is supposed to be a little better than that, than your local police, you know. But it seems like the representative for the TBI, all she seems to be concerned about too is fucking YouTubers, you know, putting out false information. I ain't got no information for you, but these YouTubers are giving you false information. So that's all I got to say about that. It just, I don't know. I don't, I just don't get it. Don't understand it. So, with that in mind, I think I'm going to go ahead and end this live because, what else is there to say? What else is there to. If you're as passionate about these cases as I am, I know there's other creators that are very passionate about these cases, and I know you got to be feeling the same way that I do. You got to be feeling trapped. You got to be feeling like there's nothing you can do. It just I don't I just don't like feeling like. I told Bullhorn Betty the other day I wanted to go back to Tennessee with him and shove my size 9 foot up Ronnie Lawson's ass. Like, move over. We're here. We can certainly do a better job than you. That's just how I feel about it. I just feel like they have not done shit for Summer. I feel like Hawkins County and the TBI just has not done shit for that child. I don't know. But anyway, I am going to get off here. It is late, and I'm going to try and get some sleep as soon as I clean up the dog's mess that he made by dumping my stuff out all over the bed. And try and get some sleep. But it's these things that just make my insomnia worse. It, my mind just swirls with, you know, feeling like I can't do more and being angry that nothing more is being done. Hey, Juju Bones, how are you? I was just fixing to get off here. Are you just now tuning in? Oh, oh, snap, crackle, pop. Sound like a bowl of Rice Krispies when I move. I've just been sitting here sharing some of my updated feelings and thoughts about Kiely and Summer and their cases. And oh, okay, yeah, it's kind of quiet. The hurricane has really, kind of quietened things down a little bit. I'm sure there's probably some other creators who are in Florida, besides Betty and Jonathan and Olivia and White Boy Lockdown. But yeah, it's been kind of quiet, other than people just kind of entertaining nonsense. Oh yeah, they do. They get rough. They get rough. I Most all that stuff though, I have blocked from coming through my news feed. I don't There are many creators whose crap does not even come through my news feed. Yes, prayers for everyone in Florida. They have been hit hard, and it is apparently fixing to move up the East Coast and possibly hit my kids in Virginia Beach, as well as Dolly Vision. He lives in Virginia too, close to the beach. So, of course, I'm thinking about them. And I mean, I know there's some other creators in South Carolina. I know of one um, that, even though I'm not fond of her, this, as I said in the beginning of this live, I don't wish Mother Nature's devastation on anyone. Yes, definitely, definitely. Yeah, I've got to make. I need to make sure and see if my oldest daughter's stepsister and her mother are all right. They're in Gulf Shores, Alabama, as well as my niece and nephew are down there too. Um, and I don't know how much they got. I mean, I know Jamie Lynn talks about going to Fort Myers a lot because she's a beach bum. My niece Jamie Lynn, and she talks, I mean, she's always up and down through there on some beach and in the summertime, and she talks about Fort Myers. And so I don't, and Fort Myers was destroyed. So I don't, I haven't even been on Facebook today, um, and seen anything. What news coverage and everything I've seen has, either come from news stations in Florida or come from Jonathan Lee Riches. So, um, who's been traveling all over southern Florida and whatnot, storm chasing, him. He's crazy as a loon. Uh, but just praying for everybody in Florida. One of my best friends is in Pensacola, so just sad, sad, sad devastation and destruction. I I'm not sure how hard it. I haven't seen anything yet about the Keys or the Bahamas or any of that, and how hard they got hit. Because I've one of the girls I went to high school with lives in the Keys, so they're able to get some call. Yeah, yeah. When there is destruction by Mother Nature like that, the everything goes down. So you can't make calls, send calls, nothing. Been there, done that. But anyway, I want to send my love and thoughts out to family and friends of Coolio. We lost another icon in the hip hop business, in the hip hop industry, and there's no word yet on his cause of death. He was apparently visiting a friend. He got up to go to the bathroom and did not come back out of the bathroom. And then when they went to check on him, they went in and he was laying in the floor of this person's bathroom. There's no suspected foul play. There's no suspicion of drugs or anything involved. There was no drug paraphernalia or anything like that, found on him. They are thinking that he most likely had a heart attack. So, yes, definitely. Rest in peace, Coolio. And like I said, much love and prayers and thoughts go out to everyone in Florida and our fellow creators and those who are possibly going to be in the path of the remainder of this storm. And justice for Kiely Rodni and justice for Summer Wells. We can't let Summer's case die. We've got to keep this in the limelight and keep some kind of pressure and keep in the know of what's going on with Don and Candace, and just We can't give up on little Summer. But you all, everyone have a wonderful night. And as always, please, everyone, be the change that you wish to see in this world. As Michael Jackson said, it starts with the man in the mirror. I want to thank everyone who joined me in the chat tonight. Please like, subscribe, and share. And I will talk to you all again soon. Peace out, everyone. Have a wonderful night.